The story you're about to hear is real. Only the situation has been changed to protect the innocent. The song you're listening to, Lou Reed by the Dandy Warhols, was the first contact I made with their band. At the time, Joel and I were moving in DP's car and sleeping. I was trying to do anything I could to get serious about our own music and playing shows. And we were, short of selling our souls, wanted to do anything to keep it going and to keep the faith. Well, we were staying with this girl, DP, and she had had enough of us, just like everybody else gets to that point. And so she called everybody she knew to find a party for us to go to, and found me with a band called Men's Club. They were playing in this garage of these people that were friends of Jeff Davies, but not really our friends because nobody really liked our band. I mean, that is, nobody felt they were cool like our band. Anyways, she drove us to this party. When I walked in the door, it was full of mob, beautiful mob, men dressed in sharp suits. I saw the most beautiful young girl I'd ever seen. There was such a buzz floating about her, I knew she was the queen bee. I started to ask her if it was cool if I put on a band called the Small Faces. I was just joking around with these kids. They'd never heard of them. But then I heard the song come from the garage, and I kind of just dropped that plan, and we went to go check these kids out. I walked in and there's this girl, no bass player. She's playing a chord, similar to a mini-mood. There's two guitar players and one of them singing. The drummer has a goatee. They're all incredibly handsome Caucasian kids. Eric, Courtney, Peter, and Zia, getting everybody into the mystical group. Now Eric looked like he didn't give a shit. Peter looked like he was having a great time. what he looked like, you shouldn't ask him when he was having a great time about it at times, because he was the boss. But Zia, she had that friendly look of a deadhead who just sampled all the free goods in the whole damn lot. She had a funny way of smiling at people that communicated immediately she was having a great time. They hypnotized you. So you would have a good time too. It was very friendly, very warm, and very welcoming. I felt right at home. Anyways, I walked up to Zia and I said, man, in between a song, your band reminds me so much of this band Whole Body I produced and put a single out on my label. I'd really like to go up to my car and give you some of the records that I put out. She said, that's cool, we're going to play, but next song come up and give it to us. So I said, okay, that's cool. So I went out to my car. Did the singles. Now, in case you haven't noticed, I have a little bit of a manic energy about me. It's a really good thing for some people. I think people that are full of hate, it's a really bad thing. So they finished the next song, and I walked right up to him, handing the singles, and Courtney says, hey, by chance you don't know this crazy motherfucker in a band named the Jonestown Massacre? The guy's name's Anton. I go look into my hand, and right on the back of my record it said, Anton. Histories of ages past, unlit and shadows cast, down through all eternity, the kind of humanity. I thought it was really cool because they were an extension of music that was very, very familiar to me. Things that I'd grown up with, psychedelic music that I really loved. It was simple. It was like The Cure or The Cult, but more like the Kingsmen and the Trogs. It was really groovy and very hypnotic and very repetitious and beautiful, beautiful harmonies. Anyways, they played for a little while and broke a string. They let me use one of their guitars to perform a song, and the people that owned the house would never let me do that because their bands were playing at a club called The Chameleon that held like 30 people, 40 people, maybe 100. And we were playing at places like, we'd rent out the Purple Onion and sell 600 tickets. We'd rent out a club on our own and sell 700 or 900 tickets when we bring Sonic Boom over from England. Anyways, I said, man, after the show I want to talk to you and exchange numbers because I knew that anybody who listened to this music in that time in this state would be so into this stuff because it had such a powerful fucking vibe to it. I said, man, don't you understand what's going on? You are like the living embodiment of the Pacific Northwest vibe of all the history. You're just the newest thing about it. But man, this is an old thing. He looked at me like I was speaking some kind of fucking foreign language.
अथ द्वितीयोऽध्याय सुतोवाच अथान्यत् सम्प्रवक्ष्यामि कृतं येन पुरा द्विजा कश्चित् काशीपुरे रम्ये यासित विप्रो अतिनिर्द
Anyways, man, I said, no, you don't understand. Whether you like listening to Catherine Wheel or any of these other bands, those bands listen to the music that I'm talking about, and you're a part of it. You could deny it or not, but you're like the Velvet Underground as much as you're like fucking Verve or whoever else they're gonna say that's out at this time. He wasn't down with that at that point, but we exchanged numbers and decided that we would keep in touch, and I would try and help him set up shows. And I said, I'm gonna give you some tapes. They'd already heard old demos. He used to shop tapes to Tim Kerr and different indie labels, and we were trying to put out records before we got our own label. And evidently people traded some of the tapes back in the earlier, more acid days. Anyways, I fucking dug it, so I kept calling him around the clock saying, man, we gotta do this, we gotta play it, man, we gotta fucking just make history. He's like, oh yeah, man, I know, it'll be so cool. I said, no, people are gonna dig this shit when it busts open, man, I'm telling you. It's gonna fucking hit him heavy. I'm sure he wondered. Now at this point, they had not been signed to Tim Kerr Records. They did have an 8-track demo, which hopefully one day you'll get to hear, because the same songs from Dandy's Rule, okay, are amazing at this home recording. It's still some of my favorite shit to listen to out of everything. I have thousands of records. So anyways, Joel was hanging out, and by that time Matt Hollywood and a couple other guys showed up, and we all introduced ourselves, and everything was cool. It was like hanging out. They all looked like race car drag strip thrift store superstar championship shoppers. We were all dressed in black, kind of dirty, kind of scruffy, kind of dark circles under eyes, and drinking like fucking sailors. Mostly other people's beer, though. So anyways, we made an arrangement, and they came down, and we set up a show. We were playing at the Trocadero Transfer, and it was pretty groovy. We used to have this gig, like after people like the Chemical Brothers would play, well, we'd be upstairs with our band ready to go, and they'd invite everybody in the club, and it was 18 and over, to stay until 4 o'clock in the morning and dance to groovy shit, so the DJs would take over downstairs, and we'd be playing upstairs in a party. So we used to have like basically from 11 o'clock at night until like 4 in the morning to play. So we brought them down here and said, we'll introduce you to some people. So they came down, and Jancis Pjorge walks up and we're playing. I'm playing organ with the Dandy Warhols, and he walks up to me and he goes, I love your fucking band. You're the greatest band in America, the only band I love. He thought that the Dandy Warhols were the Brian Jonestown Massacre. I'm sure if he would have stuck around to hear us, he wouldn't have said that publicly. That was all good, and that night ended. And we made plans to go up to Portland, and we went up there. And by this time, I'd been shopping their tapes around. They gave me 2 tapes to start with. I talked David Derzinski, our manager at the time, into copying them off, and we gave them to every single person that we'd ever talked to in the business. And we said, well, never mind about us. Check this shit out, I swear. Before we knew it, the next time we were playing, there'd be like 100 people from record companies on the guest list. And we'd already been negotiating with companies, but our deal is simple. Like, they ask you what you want, and we said, we want to be understood for what we are, which is free, baby. And so if you want us to be the next Bush or Smashing Pumpkins or Nirvana or the Monkees or whoever the fuck, you just go right down the street and there's a million people waiting for you. Anyways, we went up and played the Paris Theater. We went out to dinner with Dale Kawashima and somebody from another record company. I believe that was Mercury. And then Thor, by this time, had made an arrangement with the Dandies to re-record with Tony, their engineer, the album for the demo. Because by this time in the Pacific Northwest, they were on the cover of many, many magazines. And many, many, many people up in the Portland, Seattle area enjoyed watching them. Of course, I'm sure they had as many enemies as they did fans. No matter though. They're a great band. At this time, I also started talking to Courtney about some very important things. And one of them is how you deal when record companies start talking to you and they ask you, there's a magic question that a person from a label will ask you, and what they'll say is, what do you want? And that's an indicator that they're interested in more, and finding out more how they can manipulate you. And generally, most people want more people to hear their music, they want tons of money, and they want to be famous. So no matter what you say, it usually falls, for almost everybody that's ever lived, into those categories. And that's where the problems really begin. It's being told by somebody, anything you say, baby. We call up the Dandies and we say, hey man, we're going to set the show at a place called the Great American Music Hall, and this place holds anywhere from 700 to around 900 people, but usually about 400, because they'll put the tables down the floor. It used to be a whorehouse in the 20s in San Francisco, but it's one of the nicest places to play in America. So we put them on the bill with us. At the same time, Perry Watts Russell, who works for Gary Gersh, who runs Capitol Records, was following them. And we'd already been setting up shows at places like the Star Cleaners, all the underground spots that we played, for them with them. But at this point, man, it became very important for the Dandies to show the music industry that they could rock people's brains out in any other town. So we set them up with a full sold-out show on a Monday night, and people were way into it, because before that, they'd only played in a garage, upstairs at a stinking death rock disco, and at the Chameleon. Anyways, after the show with one of our friends, Danny Cano, he offered us his house so we could throw the Dandies a little after the show party, do a little living up. And when they came down, me and Joel had both done things like given them the keys to our houses and said, hey man, just feel comfortable and make yourself at home, let's have the greatest time of our lives. Well, after the show, I'm sitting there with standing up actually, with Perry, and I'm like, who the hell are you? And he's like, well, I used to manage a band called Berlin. I said, groovy. And he's talking to Courtney like, hey man, I think you're this talented, amazing person, and I think you should be on the same label as the Beatles and the Beach Boys and the Beastie Boys and all this jazz. I want to be your friend. And he's talking in terms of friends and family, and friends and family, and friends and family, and friends and family, and friends and family, have friends and family, have friends and family, have friends and family. You know, I'm standing right in between them and I kind of have to interrupt. You know, I'm standing right in between them and I kind of have to interrupt. If it comes down to your job, according to it. If it comes down to your job, according to it. Greg Shaw lived with them. But only Greg Shaw from Bomb Records said to me, family, which is the same thing that group family, which is the same thing that group family. And we're doing a thing called the Daily New Music Dandy World. We decided to get together and tour.
Stay one. Stay on the highway, still in dumb.
Very silly break. I said that's cool. Meanwhile, we're like, dude, we dig you all the way. We play good or we play bad and shit like to these guys like Orpheus, man. And they go down and Courtney's saying all on the desk list, so we're playing a crowd with everybody's in the industry and their friends. We got 20 tickets available. We kind of outside. And deal turned out to look it up, I'm sure after you listen. How much Courtney likes. And there's the new age. So one day
One day, guys,